Yo, what's going on, everybody? TK here. Welcome back to another NBA 2K17 rebuilding video. And in today's video, we are going to be rebuilding the Houston Rockets with Chris Paul, James Harden, and now Paul George. So there's many rumors going around that Paul George could be getting acquired by the Houston Rockets and creating a big three in Houston to contend for an NBA championship. But we're going to see if this team can beat the Golden State Warriors with Paul George, Chris Paul, James Harden. So there's rumors going around that Paul George could be going to Houston in a trade, but we'll see if it happens or not. So what we traded for Paul George was Ryan Anderson. So the starting lineup will be Chris Paul, James Harden, Paul George, Harold, Clint Capella. Eric Gordon still coming up the bench. Trevor Ariza still a really good bench. But we're just going to rebuild this team. Let's take a look at the player contracts. So we do not have any salary cap. We have Paul George, Chris Paul. Well, Chris Paul's going to be a free agent. James Harden, we have him locked up. So we're going to take a look and see what we can get for Trevor Ariza. Hopefully he has some value. He's a 78 overall, really good defender. But if we can get some, like a 2-for-1 type of deal, like two really good bench players for Trevor Ariza, I'll definitely take the risk on it. So Nick Stauskas, Wayne Ellington, Cody Zeller. Okay, not that many good offers for him. Al Jefferson's an interesting deal, but we give up a first-round pick. Nothing too interesting. Okay, this is not a bad trade. Sean Livingston and Zaza Pachulia, two guys that will be free agents next year. So I think I'm going to take this trade. That's an interesting deal. Zaza is a pretty good backup center, and then Sean Livingston's obviously one of the best backup point guards in the NBA. So let's take a look. How much does Nene make? I think he's up there. Okay, $2 million. That's not that bad. And I think we're going to keep Eric Gordon just because he's a great six-man. I don't think we can make any more trades because we don't have any trade value in guys like Clint Capella. Well, he'll have trade value, but we kind of want to keep him. But like Harold, Brown, those guys probably don't have a lot of trade value compared to Chris Paul, James Harden, Paul George, who we're definitely going to be keeping. So this is what our starting lineup is looking like: Chris Paul, James Harden, Paul George, Harold, Clint Capella, Eric Gordon, Nene, Zaza Pachulia, Sean Livingston, and Troy Williams all coming off the bench. So a really good bench, really good starting five. And I think I'm going to pick up a power forward. So let's take a look at who the really good power forwards. Hopefully we can get one out of here. Okay, that's not a bad deal. Terrence Jones coming back to the Houston Rockets on a pretty good deal. So he's going to be our backup power forward. So that's an interesting move right there. Hopefully he can help us out coming off the bench. And hopefully we can make this team into a championship contender with Chris Paul, Harden, Paul George. So hopefully this team will do really good. And I'll see you guys at the end of the season where hopefully we can make tons of wins. And I'll see you guys once we're done. Okay, so at the end of the season, LeBron James wins MVP, averaging 25 points, 10.5 rebounds, 10 assists. Crazy numbers out of LeBron, averaging close to a triple-double right there. Lonzo Ball, okay, wins Rookie of the Year, averaging 19, 7, and 9. Oh, that's crazy numbers out of a rookie. Really good season by Lonzo. Corey Joseph wins Sixth Man. Andre Drummond wins Defensive Player of the Year. Nikola Jokic most improved. And Mike D'Antoni, coach of us, the Houston Rockets, wins Coach of the Year with a 65-17 record. So taking a look at All-NBA teams here, no one in the first team. Harden makes All-NBA second team, All-NBA third team, Paul George, but no Chris Paul, which is interesting on All-NBA teams. We finished with a 65-17 record, which is best for first in the West, and we finished with the best overall record in the NBA. But Chris Paul out 46 weeks. So he'll be out for most of the playoffs. If we make it to the finals, then he'll probably be there, but still, we're going to be out with one of second best player in my opinion on this team. So who led us in scoring was Harden, Paul George with 20, and then Chris Paul with 16. Rebounding wise was Clint Capella, Harden with 7, and then Chris Paul with 9.5 assists, Harden with 8.5. Both those guys did really well passing the ball. But hopefully we can go with a long run even without Chris Paul, but it's going to be much harder. But we beat the Portland Trailblazers in 6 games and now advanced to the second round. We're facing the Utah Jazz, and then we move on. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's take a look if Chris Paul is back. He'd be out probably for one more series, so we have to get by the Golden State Warriors without Chris Paul, which is going to be difficult as they still game 1, they still game 2, they still game 3, 3-1, and we get eliminated. Okay, but Chris Paul did return. I'm not too sure how many games, but we only lost by 2 points in that final game. Chris Paul 13-8, Paul George 32. So it's still not enough to beat the Warriors, even with this great lineup, as Golden State goes on and wins an NBA championship. But all we can do is hope that KD leaves the Golden State Warriors and that he goes to the Eastern Conference, and hopefully we can do something like that. So let's go to rookie signings right here. I don't think we have any big we obviously don't have a lottery draft pick, but I'm gonna leave that there. And now let's go to team player options. Clint Capella, we're gonna accept that offer. A really good center for us. And then Kevin Durant declines. Hopefully he leaves Golden State, and that gives us a huge opportunity to win an NBA championship or even make the finals, because the Warriors are so good. Now Chris Paul, we're gonna have to give him a pretty massive deal, but obviously we want him here long term. So a 5-year deal. Hopefully we'll accept that. Zaza is gonna test. He had a pretty decent year off the bench. Sean Livingston, I'll give him the minimum. I'm going to give all these guys the minimum contract. And then Nene, what he averaged last year, 7 and 5. Okay, not bad for our backup center, backup power forward / center. So free agency is here. Let's take a look at what we need. So obviously if we get Chris Paul back, I think we have bird rights on him. So more than likely we'll get Chris Paul back. Shooting guard, James Harden. We're good at shooting guard. Small forward, we need a backup. And then the only thing we really need is a good power forward. So I think if we can get a pretty good power forward, we keep our whole bench. Let's take a look at how much. Okay, so we're allowed to sign a max contract. Let's see if we have bird rights. We have bird rights on Chris Paul, so that's really good. Let's see if we can get a power forward / center. Chris Paul and Blake Griffin could be rejoining up here in Houston, so hopefully we can get him. That would be amazing. If not, we'll go after Serge Ibaka, and then a center. Let's get back. Well, we need a backup center. So let's see. Can we get KD? No. We don't really need anyone there. So Chris Paul is still going out for offers. Blake Griffin accepts another offer. So he's going back to LA. That leaves us with just hoping to get a Ibaka, which is not that bad. Let's take a look again. So point guard, probably Chris Paul. Shooting guard, we're good. Power forward, small forward, we need one. Hopefully we can get a Ibaka at the power forward position and a backup center. So let's look at the backup small forwards. We could get Gordon Hayward and move Paul George to the 4. Let's see if he wants to come to Houston. That would be an interesting deal. But let's see if we can get a backup here. Richard Jefferson, let's try to get someone better. Iggy's not a bad option coming off the bench. So hopefully Serge Ibaka, Chris Paul, we need Chris Paul back. That's one thing we need. Okay, so we're not going to get him. Don't tell me Chris Paul. Why is it Chris Paul accepting any of our deals? Let's see. We're the only. Oh, so he's probably still looking over other decisions wise. And Chris Paul accepts his offer. Okay, that's really good right there. We're going to sign all these guys back. And I think our team's looking pretty good. Let's take a look here. Chris Paul, point guard. Okay, so good at shooting guard, good at point guard, small forward, really good. Power forward, bringing in Serge Ibaka. That could be our missing piece. I think our team's looking pretty good, and we got tons of trade assets that we can trade if we want to get better in our bench department. So I think signing Serge Ibaka might be our missing piece, because you're looking at Terrence Jones, who is our starting power forward, which is a good option off the bench. But now bringing in Serge Ibaka, this could be the guy that we were missing. So I'll see you guys at the start of season number 2. Okay, guys, so here at the start of season number 2, I don't seem like we need to trade, because I think if we trade, it will mess up our chemistry, because our team, I even forgot we added Andre Iguodala off the bench. So our team is looking nasty. Starting 5 with Chris Paul, James Harden, Paul George, obviously the big 3. So Paul, Harden, George, Ibaka now going in there. Clint Capella, our starting center. Iggy coming off the bench. Eric Gordon, Harold, Dedmon, Nene, and then Livingston. This team is looking pretty good. If this team does get out of at least the second round, there's something wrong, because hopefully we can get all these players healthy going into the start of the playoffs. And I'll see you guys at the end of the season, where hopefully we can make a deep run and make it to the NBA Finals. Okay, so at the end of the season, Russell Westbrook wins MVP, averaging 31 points, 12 rebounds, and 11 assists. Markelle Fultz wins Rookie of the Year. Mason Plumlee wins Sixth Man. Andre Drummond, Defensive Player of the Year. TJ Leaf, Most Improved. And Mike D'Antoni yet again wins Coach of the Year with a 61-21 record, which is best for first in the Western Conference. So take a look at all NBA teams right here. James Harden does make all NBA first team. Take a look at all NBA second team. No one there. And okay, Kevin Durant went to the Miami Heat, so no longer on the Golden State Warriors. So that make our run a little bit easier. Lonzo Ball makes all NBA third team. Interesting right there, but no one in that all NBA third team or second team for us rather than James Harden. As I said, 61-21 record in the West, really good for us. And then James Harden led us in scoring with 27 points, Paul George 17, and yet again Chris Paul gets injured. 4 to 6 weeks again around playoff time when we need him. He's down with the strained groin. Okay, so that's tough fall yet again. We're not going to be able to compete with Chris Paul yet again for another playoffs. He had a really good season anyways. James Harden, 8 rebounds a game. Clint Capella, 8. And Dedmon, a nice addition off the bench, had around 6 rebounds. Chris Paul, 9 assists. James Harden is still really effective. He gets play a lot more point guard when Chris Paul is injured. 9 assists, 84 assists off the bench. Let's take a look at the new additions though. Ibaka, 9 and 5. Rebounds are way down. He did average 2 blocks a game, so that's pretty good. Andre Iguodala, 7.5 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. We don't really care what Iggy does in the regular season. We care when he steps up in the playoffs. So hopefully he can step up for us yet again. Number 1 seed going up against the Memphis Grizzlies. So hopefully we come out here as we do in 6 games. As yet again we're going to the Western Conference Finals, but this time against the Minnesota Timberwolves as they take 2 games already on us. Let's take a look at their team. Obviously Butler now the new addition. Towns, Wiggins. Okay, I think we should still beat this team though, as it's 2-1, 3-1, 3-2. Game 7, hopefully we can win this game. Let's simulate this one with Simcast. Hopefully we can come out. We are playing at home, but against a young and challenging Minnesota Timberwolves team is going to come down to the wire, and we come out as James Harden looks like went off for a triple-double. Eric Gordon coming off the bench, 20 points. Livingston yet again in great addition to the team. You don't care what he does in the regular season. You care what he does in the playoffs. And still no Chris Paul. What? I don't get how he's not back yet. 46 weeks. Actually, he might be out the rest of the playoffs. So with no Chris Paul, we're going up against